Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the most must-see podcast to someone, anyone, anywhere in the world. This is Mark's Side of the Ring. I'm Freddie Cord, back again to talk all things professional wrestling. And what a big week it has been. What a big weekend it is going to be with Survivor Series coming to you live this Sunday from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, Sunday, November 21st. And then also Raw coming from Brooklyn, also at the Barclays Center on Monday. I will be there for both events. Looking very forward to it. I haven't been to the Barclays Center in a long time, so it'll be fun to get back there. Great building, and just a great wrestling crowd. New York crowd, can't go wrong, right? Start things off, though. Talk a little bit of AEW Full Gear. Full transparency, I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I can't complain. I've grown to appreciate the AEW product. You all know how I used to feel about AEW many months ago. I still don't love it. It's not WWE for me. I'm still a WWE guy and always will be, but I have grown to appreciate the product. And I thought that they put on a really good pay-per-view. I was happy for Hangman Page to win the AEW World Championship. I was not a fan for a majority of the story of Hangman Page, the trials and tribulations that he has gone through over the last couple of years. Now, I have gone back and seen some stuff and read some stuff about, the journey that he's been on. And I have to say that the story was well told and well done. To have a 2-year story arc like that and have it culminate with him becoming the AEW World Champion finally by beating Kenny Omega was well done. I thought they did a great job. I think it's well deserved. I think Kenny was a great champion. But it's nice to bring in a new era and a new guy to take the reins, no pun intended. I think Hangman's going to do good with it. I'd like to see who he's going to face. When you're a hot babyface champion, you need a lot of big time heels to go through. Now, based on what we saw on Dynamite on Wednesday, a surprising name seems to be putting his name in the hat right off the bat. Well, not much of a surprise. Daniel Bryan won the Eliminator tournament at Full Gear by beating Miro. But I am surprised in what we're getting is a heel Daniel Bryan. Now, I had assumed that if it was Daniel Bryan versus Hangman, which for Bryan to win and Hangman to win was how we're going to get there, I would have just assumed it was going to be a babyface match. But no, I mean, at least by the way that Bryan cut his promo and by the reaction he was getting, it was pretty heel. Now, does he just turn heel for this feud? I would say most likely, but you never know. He can continue on with being a heel, but either way, he could just be a heel for this feud and go back to baby. Or he could, remain a heel for a period of time. He's great at both. You would think he's a natural babyface, and he is. But man, he's great as a heel. He was great back in like 2011, 2012 when he first started doing the yes stuff, and that was originally a heel thing. He was being arrogant when he was the champion and going yes, yeah, and it evolved into being one of the biggest babyface reactions of all time. And then he did it again in 2019 when he won the title, beat AJ Styles for it, and started the whole Yes is Dead movement and the Planet's champion, and he came out with that title and the whole thing, and he was great in that. So he's proven that he can pull off babyface and heel. So we'll see how they go with that. But Hangman and Kenny, great match. I will say I was a little surprised. Once Bryan won, I was unsure if Hangman was going to win because I envisioned, okay, Kenny's going to win, and we're going to get Kenny and Bryan, and this time it's for the title because they had that match that went, 30 minutes to a draw at Grand Slam. Title not on the line. Now title will be on the line, but that's not what happened. So interesting times ahead indeed. We saw CM Punk beat Eddie Kingston. I thought that was a well-done match. Big fan of CM Punk, obviously. He's part of the reason why I've started to watch AEW, him and Bryan and Adam Cole. They're really the three only reasons. There's other guys I like. MJF is one of them. Speaking of MJF, him beating Darby Allin. And now it looks like CM Punk and MJF are going to have a feud, which I'm excited about. I think those promos are going to be tremendous. And it'll be a great feud. The thing with AEW is hard to kind of dictate when they're going to have these matches because they only do 4 pay-per-views a year. So now their next pay-per-view is not until February or March, whenever Revolution is. They do special Dynamites. I'm assuming they're going to maybe do a Winter is Coming again, like they did last December. I don't know. They have the first Dynamite on TBS, the first Dynamite of 2022, which I will be there for. Yes, I am going to my second ever Dynamite live from the Prudential Center. So they can make a big deal out of that. So there's different shows that don't have to necessarily be a pay-per-view that they can do it. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, it looks like MJF and CM Punk, big fan of that. It looks like we're getting Hangman and Bryan, big fan of that. Britt Baker retained her women's championship against Tay Conti. No surprise there. What else happened? We had the Lucha Brothers defeated FTR. No surprise there. I didn't think FTR was going to win the AEW Tag Team Championships from Lucha Bros. They just won them at the last pay-per-view. Then we had the 6-man, which I believe Adam Cole and the Young Bucks beat Christian. I should know that. I can't remember offhand who won that one. It was a good match, though. I just can't remember exactly who won. But a great card overall. Enjoyed it. Thought Dynamite was well done. But we'll see what's next. So that was the AEW side of things. That part of the show is over. And now the better part of the show, we're going to talk WWE. We're going to talk Survivor Series. Survivor Series, like I said, this Sunday. You are watching this most likely on a Saturday. It is Thursday right now, recording. Sunday, Barclays Center will be on fire. It will be the 35th annual Survivor Series. Crazy that this event started in 1987. And a lot of people have been complaining about the build to the show. And I understand that. The build has kind of been lackluster. A lot of people think the brand supremacy thing is done with. And maybe they're right. But with that being said, I am intrigued by every single one of these matches that are on the card. We're going to go through them. But real quick, Roman and Biggie, champion versus champion. Damian Priest versus Shinsuke, champion versus champion. Obviously, Charlotte and Becky going to be amazing. Champion versus champion. RK Bro versus the Usos, champion versus champion. Very excited for that. Then you have the men's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match and the women's 5-on-5 Survivor Series match. So both Survivor Series matches, I'm very excited for. I love a Survivor Series match. There's a sense of nostalgia to it, but also it always works. Like who's going to have the better odds? Who's going to have the advantage? What matchups can you see? Will you see? The brand supremacy thing, okay, it's maybe ran its course. But in my opinion, it still draws in the sense that you're seeing Raw or SmackDown. What I will say, 2 things. One, I don't think that the draft is in the right timing is at the right time because the Survivor Series pay-per-view is a month after the draft, right? So these rosters have just been implemented. I think that the draft should be done after Survivor Series. This way, these superstars that are defending Raw or defending SmackDown have been on that brand for at least the last year, right? Not just the last month. Because one of the points of contention that people are saying is that Team SmackDown was Team Raw a month ago and vice versa. And this guy was only been on SmackDown for a month, or this guy's only been on Raw for only a month. And I get that. And that is true. Granted, you could say, well, yes, but this is where their loyalty lies now. This is where they are now. This is their home now. And that's all that matters. And fair. But I think it would have more impact if the brands that they're competing for, they've been on for a while. Now, certain guys have. A guy like Roman Reigns has been on SmackDown for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But guys like Kevin Owens just got drafted to Raw. Big E kind of just came over to Raw before the draft when he became champion. Then he did get drafted there. Becky and Charlotte swap shows, right? So like, I get it. That's the brand they're currently defending and proud to be part of. But when it's only been a month, how much do you really care about your brand, right? So I think they should move the draft. I would either move it back to April, like after Mania when they used to do it, or I would do it after Survivor Series, like say December, and then you start the new year with the new brands. So either way, maybe you do it. People want stakes, right? So maybe you do stakes that the brand that wins the most matches, they get the first draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Or something, related to the draft. They could do that, right? So basically the brands are fighting to get that first draft picked. So it gives some stakes, right? But anyway, that's my thoughts on that. But regardless of what the build has been, it's been I'll admit, but the card is tremendous. I am very excited for that. And then I don't want to get my hopes up. It's been said that it's not happening, but nothing's been talked about in a while. If The Rock shows up, that's all you need. There could not be one match on the entire card. Survivor Series could just be The Rock coming out, cutting a promo about being his 25th anniversary, walks back, and that's the end of the show. And I'm in. Baby, that was the best Survivor Series we've ever had. Right? But we're going to get 6 good matches, really good matches. And we're going to go over them. So we will start with the 5-on-5 women's match, the traditional Survivor Series match. Everybody knows the rules, right? It's elimination style. You could have a clean sweep. You could have one brand beat the other clean. It could be down to 2 survivors, 1 survivor, 3. It could be whatever. So we're going to go over the participants of that. So on Team Raw, we have, you could I would call her the captain, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Zelina Vega. Now, this is going back to what I was just saying about the brand. Bianca, Liv, Carmella, and Zelina just came over from SmackDown to Raw. So, Team SmackDown, you got captain, I'm going to say, Sasha Banks, you got Shayna Baszler, you got Shotzi Blackheart, Natalya, and then just announced today on Twitter, Toni Storm will be taking Aaliyah's place after Aaliyah was taken out by Sonya Deville last Friday on SmackDown. Toni Storm getting announced as the new member of Team SmackDown, which I think is a great move. I was like, when they took Aaliyah out, I was like, well, what the hell did they bother putting her in? And who are they going to replace her with? And I'm a big fan of that. So I'm a big fan of Toni Storm being added to the match. I think Toni Storm is going to be a great addition. She hasn't had really a chance to get on her feet on the SmackDown brand since coming up from NXT. She did have a great thing with Charlotte where she challenged her and Charlotte said no and whatever on SmackDown. So I think this is a great start for her to really get things going. Who knows? She could be the sole survivor, right? I don't see Sasha Banks getting eliminated, but you never know, right? So for my prediction, I am going to go with Team SmackDown, and I'm going to say Sasha Banks and Toni Storm are the 2 sole survivors. So that's my pick on that. Next, we're going to do the men's traditional Survivor Series match. Another good one. Team Raw, there's a little bit of dispute between them, but I'm going to say the captain is Seth Rollins. You got Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Austin Theory, who we'll talk about, just got announced, and Bobby Lashley versus Team SmackDown. You have the captain, also a little bit of a dispute there. Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, King Xavier Woods, and Happy Corbin with 1 vacant spot to go. Now, a couple things to note here. Team Raw. It was originally, we saw that Dominic Mysterio had gotten taken out by Bobby Lashley. I think that was a great move. And then we just saw on Monday that Rey Mysterio was removed, which I was upset about because I love Rey Mysterio and he's been a part of so many Survivor Series. It would have been cool to see him on this team, but it is what it is. and Austin Theory replaced him, which I'm not. I mean, I would rather Rey than Austin Theory, but I think it's a good opportunity for Austin Theory to really prove himself and have a great showing, a great outing. You know, Survivor Series matches have been known to really highlight somebody. You know, we saw with Roman Reigns in 2013. We saw with Keith Lee in 2019. Granted, Keith Lee got released a couple weeks ago, but at the time, it was a big thing for him. So we'll see that with Austin Theory, just like I said about Tony Storm. It could be a great, homecoming for them, Now, as far as Team SmackDown, the reason that there's a vacant spot is because Sami Zayn got taken out. It was Jeff Hardy versus Sami Zayn on SmackDown. If Sami lost, he was taken off the team, or vice versa. And Jeff won, and Sami's out. So I don't know who's replacing him. Hopefully, it's somebody good. I'm a fan of Sami Zayn. I'm a little upset that he's not a part of it, but it is what it is. For this one, I'm going to go. I'm going to also go with Team SmackDown with Drew McIntyre and King Xavier Woods being the sole survivors. Those are the two I'm going to go with. So we got 2 for Team SmackDown. For Intercontinental Champion, we have versus the U.S. Champion, right? Kind of equivalent titles in theory. No pun intended about Austin Theory. So we have Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura versus U.S. Champion Damian Priest. I'm going to go with Raw on this one. I'm going to go with Damian Priest beating Shinsuke Nakamura. But that's an interesting matchup. I'm excited for that. That's, 2 baby faces, so that'll be interesting. But I think they're going to put on a hell of a match. Another match I'm very excited for: tag team champions versus tag team champions. We got RK Bro, Randy Orton, Matt Riddle for those keeping score, versus Jimmy and Jey Uso. Boy, this is a tough one to pick. If the Usos lose, Roman will not be happy, obviously. But I don't see RK Bro lose it. That's a hard one to pick. I think I'm very excited for it. Even Randy Orton commented on Twitter, this is what he's been waiting for a while. I don't know if Randy's ever worked the Usos in any capacity, nor have Riddle. Riddle did a little bit before he came, but he's been on Raw for over a year. So I don't know. I don't think he has. I really don't think, believe it or not, that Randy Orton had. I mean, I'm sure there was some match on Raw in 2013 that when the Usos were wearing paint that somewhere Usos and Randy Orton touched, but nothing of significant memory. So I'm going to go with RK Bro on this one too. So we got 2 for SmackDown, 2 for Raw. And then we have a match that I'm really, really, really looking forward to. Charlotte representing Team SmackDown versus Becky representing Team Raw. Raw Women's Champion versus SmackDown Women's Champion. Boy, this is probably the most hyped match on the entire card because there's realism to it. At least so we believe. Again, could we be being worked? Was that whole title swap saga thing done to get people talking? Is all this talk, is WWE, filtrating this sense that there's actual heat backstage between them? Maybe there is. Sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire, but I don't know. Either way, it's got people talking, right? Now, I can believe that there is a little bit of animosity between them. I could definitely see that. Now, are they playing it up? Probably, right? But everybody's into it. It's intrigue. And when the feuds are real, people are always even into it more so, right? There's a sense of realism. So probably the match I'm looking forward to most, with the exception of the main event, which I am, but this is probably, this may edge the main event. I mean, anything with Roman is money, but which we're going to get to. Boy, this is a hard one to pick. I'm going to go with Raw on this one. I'm going to go Becky Lynch beating Charlotte Flair. And this is interesting because just like the Intercontinental US was baby, this is kind of heel versus heel because they're both portraying heels. But I think Becky's going to get the babyface reaction, especially in Brooklyn. Ironically, in the same place that she originally slapped Charlotte Flair when she was supposed to be a heel, but ended up getting cheered so much that it kind of backfired and turned her into the biggest babyface of all time when it happened at SummerSlam a few years ago. So, which I was also there for. Pretty cool. But yeah, I'm going to go Becky Lynch beating Charlotte Flair. It's going to be a hell of a match. Probably maybe match of the night. And that brings us to our main event. We have Roman Reigns, the reigning, defending Universal Heavyweight Champion of the world, our tribal chief, who we need to acknowledge, Roman Reigns, versus the WWE Champion, Biggie. This is a huge moment for Biggie. This is not probably, definitely his biggest match of his career. He's only had the title since September. I think he won it. He's defended it a couple of times. He's not defending it here, but this is by far the biggest match of his career. I mean, to face Roman Reigns would be huge. Now, because it's non-title, Roman could lose to Big E. I don't see that happening. But if there was a match on pay-per-view to have Roman lose, this would be the one. Because he won't lose the title. You know what I'm saying? So maybe Big E beats him. You never know. With some kind of BS, I don't see him winning clean. But maybe Big E does beat Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. How big would that be, right, for him? But I'm going to go with Roman. I don't bet against Roman. I haven't bet against Roman since WrestleMania this year when I swore Edge was winning the title on the anniversary of him relinquishing it, and he didn't. So I haven't bet against Roman since WrestleMania. I'm going Roman Reigns beating Big E, but I think that's going to be a hell of a match. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches, like I said. The 2 elimination matches, the rest all champion versus champion. The build has been lackluster, but the card is tremendous. I think it's one of the best Survivor Series cards of all time. I mean, it's brand versus brand. It's Raw versus SmackDown. It's the best of the best, right? That was the tagline last year for Survivor Series, but that's really what it is, the best of the best. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being there. And then, like I said, will we see The Rock on the 25th anniversary of his debut? The debut was technically yesterday, Wednesday, November 27th, but to Survivor Series, it'll be 25 years on Sunday. Crazy that it's been 25 years since The Rock debuted. And crazy that his run was only 5-6 years. 6 years full time anyway. It's crazy, right? When you really think about it. And by far the biggest wrestling star of all time. I mean, he's beyond exceeded that. I've had conversations with multiple people, who's the most famous wrestler of all time. And it is The Rock, but I always say, well, yeah, it's The Rock, but sometimes I don't even think he's the most famous wrestler of all time because he's beyond that. He's not a wrestler that is famous. He's a famous guy that was a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? Hulk Hogan is like the most famous wrestler, Stone Cold is the most famous wrestler. The Rock is a famous person that was a wrestler. He's beyond that category. I mean, wrestling fans will always think of him as a wrestler that became an actor. I always will. He'll always be The Rock to me. He'll always be a wrestler that does movies now. That's never going to change. But in reality, more people probably now know him as an actor than they do a wrestler. I mean, his acting career has been longer than his wrestling career. If you really think about it, he stopped full time in 2003. You could even say 2004 when he had his last match until he did that run a couple of years ago, 10 years ago now. So he's been acting longer than he's been wrestling, which is crazy, right? But he'll always be a part of the WWE family. He'll always be a wrestler. I tell you what, if he shows up on Sunday at Barclays Center, that place, the roof's going to get blown off that sumbitch. I'll tell you that right now. I was there in 2014 when he showed up on Monday Night Raw, and it was amazing. I expect that even tenfold for his anniversary, of the debut, whatever you want to call it. Hashtag Rock25. The Rock has had, so many iconic moments, his debut in 1996 and winning the championship in 1998, turning heel, right? Aligning himself with McMahon, bringing WWF to victory in the winner take all versus Alliance Survivor Series match in 2001. And then to his last Survivor Series appearance at Madison Square Garden, which I was there for in 2011, him and Cena teaming up, never before, never again, versus Miz and R-Truth. And it was tremendous. It was The Rock's first match since WrestleMania 20. He looked great. And that was the last time he was at Survivor Series, which was 10 years ago. So, which was his 15-year anniversary of his debut. So it'd be really cool. I mean, I know he's not wrestling, but that's fine. He doesn't need to if he shows up at Survivor Series. But we'll see. We will see if he, in fact, does. What does he do? Does he interact with Roman Reigns? Now, I know that match is most likely not happening at this year's WrestleMania in Dallas, which is fine. They can save it for 39. I wouldn't go past that, because Rock is not getting younger, right? I mean, he's probably in better shape than half the damn roster, but, reality is he's not getting any younger. So I would do it sooner than later. But I'm not against waiting until 39 when they're in Hollywood. I think the story sells itself. You do Brock and Roman this year. They obviously have a ton more meat on the bone, and you kind of tease maybe Roman and Rock and something to build on later on, for the following year. So we'll see. He may not show up at all, but I'm being hopeful that he does, but we'll see. I will be here next week to talk all about it. I will be talking about Survivor Series. I will be talking about Monday Night Raw and everything else in between. All things professional wrestling right here on Mark's Side of the Ring. I'm Fred DeCourt, and we will see you at the Survivor Series.